Hi, I'm live. It says so. How are you? And welcome. This is my first live, and I'll have to tell you, I'm not experienced. This is a podcast, and its title is Destiny's Place for Grace. And it is remembering the true you. Well, I guess I'm remembering the true me because I'm going to share stories and eventually guests. And I think if you saw the preview launch, I mentioned all this the other day. So we'll get down to business. What I would like to share is that I pulled a uh, a saying. It's from Matthew 28:20, and this was just so perfect. I pull it arbitrarily, and I just ask to be guided. And I do that a lot with a lot of things, and this is today's prayer. I am with you always. And I really ask for that, for God, the universe, the source of all love, to be with me through this episode. And as I go on, I'm sure I will, I will understand more because it's a lot happening. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't even know if the microphone is on because I don't see it moving up and down. So I hope you can hear me. And I don't know where the chat is. And I guess I should have done I guess I should have done I did a video instead of a live for pre-launch. So that was easy to upload. Anyway, let's get down to business. It's about mental health, and it's also going to be about drugs, because it went hand in hand for me, not at the same time, but prior to my breaking down with a breakdown of mental health. I was doing, I would say recreational drugs, but they were very strong drugs. I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I was only like 15, 16 years old. And my brain is not formed yet fully for young people. And I didn't know that, though. I had no clue. It was in the late 70s and 80s. Uh, no, actually earlier 70s, mid 70s, I get through the 70s. And anyway, so it started out with, pot, marijuana, weed, whatever we call it then, whatever you call it now. And, I'm familiarizing myself also with a lot of notes and information about what's popular now and what you're doing. And not only am I talking to young people, people, because I've really found out that drugs are really not uh, a good thing in a lot of ways. It depends, of course, on the person, but I have found that it's not very very good to do. And I did a lot, and I don't adhere to it, and I don't advise anyone, especially with your brain not quite formed fully and grown. 21 and 25, or 23 and 25, is the stage that the brain stops growing and forming, and it's fully adult. And while you're still growing and it's forming, it's really not wise. And so I'm repeating myself. I apologize for that. But I'll get more of the, hang of speaking. And I don't even know if anybody's here or not. And I want to welcome you if you are. I can't see the chat, so I'm getting. Uh, it's not. I don't know where I went, but anyway, uh, hello. Yeah. And I don't know if I needed to do that or not, but I can do better. So, uh, what sets your soul on fire? I hope not drugs, and I hope that mental health, which is, I should tell you a little bit if you're unfamiliar with what mental health is. It is an it is Mental health is not simply the absence of mental health. It includes emotional, psychological, and social well being. It influences how we think, feel, make decisions, relate to others, respond to stress, and experience meaning in life. So I just read that. And then I found that 1 in 5 experience diagnosis of mental health conditions in a given year. 1 out of 5. That's a lot of people. We're a big planet. And anxieties are among the most common, and depression affects hundreds of millions. And and then we're going to talk about suicide. So I decided, I put it together between this past week about what I wanted to uh, come come forth, and say and do and share. And I realized I'm never going to get it in one episode. And I was going to plan on talking about mental health. I didn't plan on the drugs, but they're definitely a precursor to it all, and leading up, and also suicide. And there's 700,000 suicides a year, and that's not counting the ones that are many times not uh, successful, should I say. It's a terrible thing. I know I've attempted it. I've thought of it. I had a preoccupation with it, and it's in the bottom line. I have to say that I didn't think in that moment at all about it being a selfish thing, but to the others who, for me personally, it was my parents and family and friends that I hurt so much that I had no idea. But I was just looking in that moment for me, and feeling how awful it felt. So how I experienced what I tried to do. But it's a very long and interesting story, but I'm not going to bring it up today. The story that I will bring up is that when I was first breaking down, it was very unusual because I was skipping a lot and changing my clothes many times a day because I wasn't satisfied how I looked and how I felt. And all those idiosyncrasies about the personality, I think, were playing a role with me during those moments. So, started with my boyfriend, who turned to be my husband, and a divorce 8 months later. Well, by the time the divorce went through, it was years, but we were only together married for 8 months. So and I wasn't even like 22 by that time. So I was, in a relationship, the only relationship I was in, and I was married, divorced, and I wasn't even 22 yet. So that was big when I look back and reflect upon that. And it was a lot to have encompassed, and then the breakdown in between, and the healing process that went along with it, that I still stretch out, and so in some ways I'm fearful of, like mathematics, because I was all about numbers and geometric designs on paper, writing them, and drawing. And I don't even know what that was all about, but I know that I suffer with math still in my 69 years. So I was 19 when the breakdown initially, officially happened, but it was happening before, and it was leading up to that moment of break. And what happened was my parents witnessed in the doctor's office, because it took us a month to get into the doctor, and then a month to get to the psychiatrist. And what happened was, as I was in the waiting room, and my parents, and we were the only three in the room, in the waiting room waiting for the doctor, I reverted from 19 years old to a 5-year old, sat at the table and had a highlight magazine, and was as in imaginary friends or whomever. I was teaching them from that's all I remember of the account of what happened. But my parents witnessed that, and that was, I'm sure, in their perspective, very upsetting to see a 19-year-old revert to it, and their daughter to a 5-year-old, and acting out in her imagination, like, out of control of where she was, and her, mind, and everything. So, and then we went into the doctor's office, and the doctor took me in separately, and that's something, I realized he had to do that a little bit, but parents are absolutely hands-on. They must be, and I really felt that maybe one of my parents should have been in there with me, with him, uh, examining me, because I was still underage. Well, 19, I guess I don't know how that works exactly, but anyway, I'm not a parent. I don't have children, so I can't examine you. But I know parents, and I have friends that are parents and grew them up, and growing children and young young children from family, it's extremely important to be hands-on as a parent. And anyway, so the doctor came out. He was a very nice man. He's the one that brought me to the world and was my doctor until I moved, I guess, to Colorado. And anyway, so he said, Charlie, that's my dad's name. I know 7-Eleven is supposed to be a lucky number and you're into the ponies, but Camille needs a psychiatrist because it was actually 7-Eleven. We're in the month of July, and here it was exactly in the same month that we're in that I had my first breakdown. And yeah, and I remember I thought that there was a blackout, a big blackout in New York. That's where I'm from. And I thought for sure that I caused the blackout. And yeah, and I hadn't remembered that. So yeah, and it was really tough get healing. We were having a heat wave, and the doctor wanted me in the hospital. The psychiatrist, when we got there, finally after almost a month. By that time, my meltdown was like, oh, there was like no conversing with me, except he said, and I'll never forget this. There was a black and white butterfly, like one of those press things that they do with psychology and stuff, I guess. And it was a picture on a wall. And he said to me, are you thinking of killing yourself? And I looked around the room, and I think that's really what brought on the ideology. And I know that in my notes, it said that people think that's true, but talking about it, but it's supposed to not be true. But, when you're empathic and you're sensitive, it could very well be true. I want to watch my time. So anyway, to me, I'm not really sharing the story as wonderfully, cool as I could. But so he said, do would you, are you going to kill yourself? Are you thinking of killing yourself? Whatever he said. And I looked around the room and I saw that black and white butterfly in a small frame on the wall. And I said, uh, no, because people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. And that's Barbara Streisand's song, I think from Funny Girl. And that was my answer. And that's about all we discussed on the first appointed date, that I would see him for years. And I have my own perspective of him as well. God bless his soul. He must be gone. And if not, he's very old. And anyway, I cannot chat, so I apologize if anybody's asking questions or there, and I don't know how to get it here. So, but I'm pretty sure that nobody's here. Anyway, so that was the story of my parents seeing me as they coddled me after that. They were so worried about me over a lot of years, even as parents, if you're young, parents never stop worrying about you and being concerned about you. If you come from a wholesome background, and I'm not judging anyone, but I did come from a very wholesome background, as good as my parents could be. They were self-sacrificing, and some young children don't have that, uh, joy and honor and uh, possible circumstance. But my parents did the very best they could with the very means and everything they had, and you know, but they worried and they coddled me and they tried to protect me over years and years. And at some point, I decided that I've got to move out of the house because I'm getting older. Really, it's time. And then when I did go out on my own, I well, I couldn't. There's a lot of circumstances. I couldn't afford it. After a while, I lost my job, uh, and so I'm getting off the topic. The drugs. So the drugs were recreational at first, and they were marijuana, and but then they were, psycho drugs. It was, I was at, and we were in a group of people, and I was like, "Here, take this tab of acid," or I don't think that's a drug of choice anymore, but everything is so different from when the '70s went. But an ounce of pot was like $30 or $15. I think it was like crazy compared to what I hear prices are today. And so and the content of it was very different than the content of the what is it, TLC that they put in there now? TLC, I don't know. I'm a little bit behind the times of what's happening out there now, but I'm going to catch on much more quickly. I'm on TikTok, and I was hoping some of my friends from there would come, my friends, but I don't see them here. I don't know if anybody's here, so I will find out afterward, and I will respond accordingly. And I guess this is the first one, and I could talk about so much more. I'm conscious of your time as well. I mean, I've got nothing better to do than to sit here and talk about what's important in life, and you are important. You are enough. You are the being and the soul and the heart and spirit of you. I believe we are spirit living in a human condition in life, and yeah, behind every statistic is a human being, is a person, a mom, a dad, a young adult growing up, a teenager. Even some people have depression and. I know I can tell you something that when I was in 8th grade and 7th grade, when boys and girls were starting to I was having a really challenging time because I was so shy, and I used to do everything in a mirror. Like if I was supposed to have a conversation with a friend, a boyfriend, not a boyfriend, but a friend who was a boy, I prepare myself in front of the mirror, and and I now I think about it, and that's like a whole given of doing, open o in front of a mirror, and looking at yourself through the eyes, and then seeing the being that you were from our lives, if you believe that. I've read that, and there's just so much to share and bring in. But depression and other mental illnesses are become popular. I don't know what happened to our society. And that's the reason I want to do this, because I see the value of everyone changing and being so different. And and I don't want to judge it, but it's just not what it was. And it's not, I believe, where it needs to be. Family is so important. Children, having children for women, and, procreation, that's life. That's the gift we're given. And personally, I wanted 5 children. I wanted 4 boys and a girl, and I put my order in quickly, early, young, but it never came to fruition. And I'll talk about that another time. And there's feelings of hopelessness, believing one is a burden. I didn't think I was a burden. There were other reasons that I uh, decided that I wasn't, meant to be here. In fact, one of them was that I could work better on the other side as an angel in heaven. And that's the reason I wanted to take myself out. And, it is what it was. And my journey is unique unto me. Yours is unique unto you. But don't sell yourself short. Don't be selfish to yourself. You're being selfish to yourself to want to take your life. And drugs are a big factor that really don't work and get you through. And I really think that's the point and the story I wanted to share today. I have a lot of them. I was in the hospital, I realized, when I was in the state of Colorado, where I lived, when I was married for the 8 months, because I had another breakdown there. Had a breakdown here, had a breakdown there. Came back, had a breakdown. Oh, I was like breaking down every 6 months, but also because I wouldn't give up the pot. And, I struggled with that in my life, not anymore now, because I had an episode or 3 that really turned me off to, what it does to a person. And, gee, I hope I'm talking out loud. I don't know. Suddenly, I don't know if I am. And I hope the whole half hour is not in vain. Oh, it's 12:21. That's a good angel number. 3 3 12. 1 and 2 is 3, 1 and 2 and 1 is 3, and 3 and 3 is 6. That's unconditional love. That's family love. Humanity is my family. Really, I do believe that. And I really feel that strongly. I'm so empathic. And not that I'm, boasting for myself, but I really am empathic. I really have this ability to know, have a knowing, and it's just life is beautiful, isn't it? Life is such a gift, and and I'll tell you, be careful what you wish for, because 2 years ago I wished that I would be gone. Still with that ideology of, I know I couldn't do it myself because I was already told 3 times and you're done. And I don't want to take a chance. I love life too much. I love people too much. I have too much work to accomplish before I leave this life in my last breath here. And I did need a pacemaker. It took me down to get a pacemaker, and I was like, no, I don't want it in my body. And I refused to get the pacemaker. But what happened was, it my heart slowed down so much that the paddles came in, but they didn't use them. But she said, "Did you feel that?" The nurse said, and I said, "Yes, I did." And I slowed down, and I have a slow rate, and I don't know, everybody's is different, but it was like, oh, be careful what you wish for, because you could wish yourself dead, and it could happen. So manifestation instantaneously can happen, and it has happened to me. And I want to talk about that. There's so many things I want to discuss on this podcast, bring you into the light of love and joy. I think I've said too much already. I can go on. I have a chatterbox mouth, and it serves me well, but I don't know how other people feel about it. you know, um, but I wish you well. I wish you a beautiful day and weekend. And I'm going to do this every Friday, 12 noon. You can, I hope, learn to love to join me in a live. And when I learn how to absolutely do that with everybody, and if anybody is there, I will check it out. And if you left a comment, please do. I would love to hear what you think and thought, and your recommendations of what you want to hear. But the next 3 weeks through July, I'm feeling that it's going to be episode part 1, part 2, part 3 of mental health. I'm announcing it like it's something wonderful, but you learn to accept what you have and deal with it and cope with it. And I think they prepare you so much more than I was prepared 50 years ago at 19, because I wasn't even told my diagnosis. I didn't find out until I went to Colorado. And I had no clue it was going to be something that was going to be with me in my whole life. I thought it was like, okay, I got sick, I'm out, I'm done, leave it behind. It's not the way a mental health works. And I will talk more about neurodivergent, which I believe in some ways I might have been misdiagnosed. Plus, I've been in PTSD and for years, and I still struggle with that. And I haven't been in war. I would never be a police officer. I'd be like, wait, let me pull the gun out. It's not me. So anyway, you got to go with what you flow with best, and that's not one of mine. And someone once told me, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, and I hope to see you live next week. And if you catch this on a, you know, uh, a video, after it's finished, I just hope that you get a laugh, a joy, and it kind of like uplifts you. That's my hope. To leave you uplifted in a good way with laughter on your mind. It's a good thing I chose Friday, because you're into the weekend. Many people do work over the weekend, but a lot of people are off. And I hope that I add to your pleasantry of a day, because love is always in bloom, and love brings in peace in your heart, joy in your heart, and we can make that choice to be happy, happy, happy in happy heart space. I think I left something out, but I'll say ciao for now. And my name is Camille Titoni. I don't know if I said that, but anyway, there we go. How do I end here? Okay, end stream. Thank you.